I was in a place where I no longer wanted to hold on to my story, but I wanted to let it out so that people would know that you don't have to live in bondage.
It's the Self Care for Success show. Meet your certified life and book coach, Joanne Dean.
Greetings and welcome to the show. Today's guest is a nurse, certified midlife coach, and author. She has a history of helping women with health awareness, personal development, and building their self confidence. Please help me welcome Coach Brenda Kelley to the show. Start off with the very first question being, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. I am blessed of God. I am just really thankful for all that He is to me and all that He's doing in my life in this season.
Now, I see you all over social media sharing your story. Can you talk a little bit about what has inspired your journey?
What has inspired me? I would say one of the things that has inspired me, and I just did a YouTube video on it, is number one is my mom. During this season, her life, her journey, um, her encouragement that has been given to me down through the years. So that is one of the things is my mom just inspired me to be all that I am called to be the best that I can be.
Mhm. So let's back up a little bit and talk about, since you mentioned your mom, who is Brenda Kelley?
Who is Brenda Kelley? That's a good question. I would say one of the first things, who I am, number one, is a servant, servant leader. Um, all through my life growing up, I was always in that position of being a leader. Even as a young girl, growing up with my siblings, with kids in the neighborhood, I was always a leader. But also, I was also a servant. um, Growing up in my dad's church, believe it or not, I was the nurse at the church at like 11 years old, walking around, serving, giving water. If ministers were there, I was the one that was serving. And I just believe that that is who God called me to be. And as I begin to grow, I saw more and more that that is what God called me to do, is to be a servant, to serve.
So you knew early on who you were created to be. So what continues, because that has been quite the journey. What
Yes.
continues to fuel your faith?
What really fuels my faith is, I would say, staying connected to God, um, making Him priority in my life, keeping my focus on Him, listening for His voice, listening to Him as He guides me throughout my life. I remember even as a young girl growing up, God would speak to me, and a lot of times people say, well, God, speaking to you as a young girl. But I remember Him giving me scriptures and just speaking to me. I had this connection with Him on in my life. And I really believe that, God doesn't wait until we're adults to or get older to start speaking to us. He lets us know that He's with us all the time. So I just believe that keeping connected to Him is what keeps me grounded.
As you were talking, what came to mind was that you do so much for everybody else and you do it with excellence. How do you take care of Brenda?
Wow. One of the things that I really focus on as far as taking care of myself is being still. A lot of times people feel like self-care and doing for yourself is all about the exterior, the manicures, the pedicures, the massages, and all of these things. But for me, it's just the stillness, the uh, being with God, just spending that time by myself. And, it's good to be with people, but it's also good to spend that time with God so that you can hear, so that you can get direction for your day to day life. So, one of the main things for me is that meditation time, that time alone that I can hear from Him. And all the other things are a plus, but just that time with God. I remember during uh, 3 years ago, my son passed away, and I've talked about this before. But during that time, my daughter, right before, my daughter had given me like a membership to a sauna. And, where you go in there and it's hot and you sweat. And it started doing that prior to. And she gifted that to me for a year after my son passed away. And I had unlimited resources to go as much as I want. And a lot of times people would say, well, Brenda, you got to grieve. You gotta let it go. But they did not know that during that time, that was my time with myself. Some days I would go in there and I would go in there and cry. Some days I would go in there and I would write. I would take my writing materials with me. And I did so many things in that time to help with my healing, to help to, sometimes I was like really, really like, Lord, why? But that was me taking care of myself, doing it the way I felt necessary to get through.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And it is so true that we all heal differently. We all use different tools as well as, we all look at self-care differently. It looks different for each of us. And so, one of the tools that I use to heal as well is writing. Um,
Mhm.
and speaking of writing, you have written two books. Can you share a little bit about what inspired the message for both of those books?
Sure. The first one that I have was Live Surrendered, Live Free. And this book, it really talks about unleashing the power to soar, like releasing things in your life that, you have kept on the inside and really surrender those things to God. I just really shared my life story of going through at an early age and, having two kids and then going through the struggles of that and completely surrendering my life to God. When I wrote that book, it really helped me to let go of things. A lot of times as women, we hold things in and people don't really know. You see the smile, but you don't know what's really going on inside. Well, I kind of released it. And when I wrote that book, it totally changed and allowed me to be free. It allowed me, I was in a place where I no longer wanted to hold on to my story, but I wanted to let it out so that people would know that you don't have to live in bondage. You don't have to hold on to that story. Share because someone needs what you're going through. So that was that book. And then my next one is Modeling Your Way to Wellness. And this is all about, really, it's a healthy eating guide and a journal, and it's all about eating healthy, taking your care of yourself, really focusing in, especially women in midlife. We are taking care of everyone else, we're doing for everyone else, and we leave ourselves out. And so this talks about taking time for you, taking time to really think about where you are with your health, because our children, we're doing for husbands and children and family, anybody that comes with a problem, we're always there to fix it. But what about yourself? How much are you taking care of you? And so that is one of my goals, is to really empower women to really focus on their body, on their health, on self-care.
Mhm. That is so powerful. I did a post today and it was entitled, "What Stories Are You Telling Yourself?" Because, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, so often we hold on so tightly to the stories, but you chose to surrender yours.
Yeah.
Even in holding on to our stories, sometimes that is so etched into who we are, we don't allow ourselves room to write the next chapter.
Yes. Yes.
So, can
So
you talk
true.
a little bit about how you are able to surrender?
Yes, one of the things that I wrote in my book is, I had one of my friends that came to me and she said, you are really, how did you get through divorce? Like, how did you make it through? It just seemed like it was so easy for you. Like, you just kind of flowed through it. How did you get through? And when she said that, all of a sudden, I just burst into tears. And I started talking about what I went through in my divorce. And I was telling all these things about what he did. And it really made me stop and think. I was so hung up on that story, my story of the hurt and the pain. So I was wanting to let her know, let me tell you what he did to me.
Mhm,
And that's when I realized that I'm not healed, that I was not healed. And so in the midst of writing my book, God began to, like, it was like unpeeling an onion. He was he was showing me areas that I was not healed. And like I said, we cover it up so often and so well as women. We can cover up. Somebody asks us how we're doing. Oh, I'm doing great, everything, and hurting inside. So I wanted to encourage women to be free and let it go, and let go of that story. Quit holding on to that story and just realize what God wants to do in you. He wants to heal those hurts, not put a band aid on it, but God wants to heal those hurts.
mhm. Beautiful, beautiful. I was thinking the other day, I said, we're the only race that put strong in front of.
Mm.
No other woman carries strong in front of her but us.
Wow, that is so true. That is
I
so
said, I
true.
wonder why that is, that we feel the need to be strong. And I'm sure some of it is cultural.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got married, my husband said, you no longer have to be the strong one. You
Hmm.
you can release the need to be strong.
Right. I remember when my son passed away, um, in the hospital. I was there and I was, as a nurse, I think I was more in nurse mode than I
Mhm,
was mommy mode.
mhm,
And I was just going through that hospital, handling, making sure my kids were okay, making sure everybody was okay. And my husband even said,
mhm,
"You are the strongest woman." Like, he could not believe this was my child,
mhm,
and but I really wasn't in mommy mode. I was in nurse mode. And in nurse mode, a lot of times, in being a nurse 40 years, we have always been trained, when things are, even when you're sad, like when you're dealing with a patient that is dying, that I can put on a face. I
mhm,
can put on a different, I
mhm,
can just turn it off to where I can focus on what I need to do.
Mhm.
And I believe that's where I was until I walked out of that hospital.
Mhm.
And it was like once that air hit me, they had to catch me because it was as if I almost collapsed. So that, and we do that a lot as women, like you said, strong Black women. But I was so focused on making sure everybody was okay, finding out the details. Let me see my son, saw him, talked to them. And, but like you said, we have to allow ourselves to. And after that process, I did. I allowed myself to feel because I needed to. I couldn't hold on to that strong person throughout.
Yeah. And what happens when we hold on to that and we carry that, it's going to show up somewhere. And a lot of times it shows up in our body as dis-ease. And you
Exactly.
can definitely speak to that more than me because you're the nurse, but I know for sure that it definitely shows up in our body as dis-ease. So that's why I'm so happy that a part of your platform is that you help women incorporate, wellness all around as a part of their journey, as a part of their daily living.
Yes,
Kudos to you,
absolutely.
for doing that. So talk a little bit about, was there any part of your journey that you were afraid of, or is there still something that you're working through, or have you overcome any fears in your life?
Um, I would say that when it comes down to fears, um, losing a child was a heavy place for me. I'm not gonna lie, it was a heavy place for me. But I'm getting through it daily, and it is something that I have really focused on. If I didn't have a relationship with God,
Mhm.
you know, they say parents shouldn't bury their children. And if I didn't have a relationship with God, I know for sure that God is with me because he brought me through that process. And that was one of my fears is, going through that. But I am on the other side of it. It's not always easy, but I am daily, just really focusing my attention on uh, what I have, what God has blessed me with. And really, it makes me focus more on, connecting more, even more, even though we were really close
Mhm.
connecting, but it makes you appreciate life and appreciate your family even more. So that is one thing that my focus is on living life to the fullest, taking care of myself and encouraging my family to do the same, you know, really focusing in on living healthy, eating healthy, doing the right things, so that we will be, with one another longer. So,
Mhm.
and I encourage women to do the same thing. I encourage anybody to really focus on your health and living a healthy lifestyle.
Mhm. And I definitely have seen your side by side photos
Mhm.
of your transformation. Can you talk a little bit about how you have transformed your life?
Yes, I just really, a lot of times I look at people and they focus on, I'm not, against having surgeries or whatever if you feel the need, but a lot of it is all in the mind. It's your thoughts. It's even if you have surgery, even if you do something like that, eventually you're going to have to focus in on why you're eating what you're eating, why you're doing the things that you are. And so mindset is one of the most important things, and one of the things that I really focus on when I'm coaching people is changing your mindset. Food can become such an addiction for a lot of people, even like sweets or certain carbs. You know, food is created to make us like it even more. They put things a certain way. Even in the grocery stores, they position food in a certain area to make you want it. The candy is always at the right there. When you looked at everything else, that candy is right there. Look at the chips, look at so they plan it for us to buy. And the more of it you eat, the more you want of those things. So just really focusing in on your mindset. And over the last 40 days, I've really been working on my own self even more. And I made the decision, I do a fast once a week. And during that 24-hour fast, it really helps me because I feel good because I don't have to worry about food that day. And I do it in midweek. I do it on Wednesdays. I don't have to worry about taking food to work. All I do is take my water and I do herbal tea on that day. And I 24 hours, and when I do eat, I may eat something, later in the evening. I'll eat maybe a boiled egg and maybe 10 grapes or something like that just to get something in. But it makes me see that I'm in control of this. Like, I'm not going to allow this to control me, that I have to eat this massive amount of food. You can control your own body, bring your body under subjection, you know. And so I'm loving that, the fact that, I need to be in control of my body, not my body telling me, Brenda, you need to eat. You want to eat. I am taking out time, and it's good to allow your body to rest a little bit and fast, and during that time, I pray, and it really helps me. It cleanses, it purifies, so I enjoy it.
So, what's one tip you would tell someone that's starting out?
I would say to start small. Don't try to do everything at once, because times when you try to do everything, you don't do anything. So start small. Just eliminate one thing that you feel like is your biggest problem. Like if you are in the habit of snacking every night at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you got to get a snack. Start there and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that this week. I'm going to take this week and I'm going to eliminate that. Just take one thing
Mhm.
and start with that. Or if it's, you got to have a piece of candy every day, I'm going to stop that. Just do one small thing at a time. Don't try to buy everything at once,
Mhm.
just one thing.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I know that you have, so many things on your plate. You're a singer, you're a coach, you're a nurse, you're a mom. What do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for bringing people to Christ. That is number one for me. I want to be known for that. I remember as a young girl growing up in the church, my dad's church, I had a friend who, we were like in fifth grade, and I witnessed to that girl. Nobody in her family knew God. And I witnessed to her, and I brought her to my dad's church, and she accepted Jesus into her life. And that, as a young girl, that was something to me. And to even to this day, we are both 60 years old. She is still with God.
Mm.
And she always says, remember you talked to me about God. I'll never forget it. And that means so much to me that I was able to plant the seed. I didn't do the work, but
Mm.
I planted the seed and I took her to my dad's church and they did the watering and the cultivating, but she saw something in my life that made a difference. And so I want to be that person. I want to help bring people to Christ. I want to have a great harvest. Um, I'm doing a talk soon, and I'm talking about the harvest, and I'm talking in the book of Ruth, how Ruth, how she was able to help her mother-in-law. And so that harvest is what I'm talking about. And that's what I want. I want to be that person to help bring people in. Another thing that I want is I want to help women. I want to help women that are lost, that feel like they don't have value. They don't feel that they are worthy of love. I want to be able to help them and show them. That is one thing that God has really blessed me to do, is to share with women and let them know that you are worthy, that God needs you, He loves you, and that's what I want to do. I want
I
to be
love
known.
that, Brenda. I love that. Is there anything you want to leave with our listeners that you haven't shared yet?
Oh, um, I would just say that keep your focus on your relationship with God. You know, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness in your life, and everything else that you desire, the things that you desire will line up with God's as you seek him first. You'll think that this is my idea, but when you seek God first, you will line up with his will for your life. Everything will be added. The things that you desire. I recently, about 2 weeks ago, I went to a church. They called me and asked me to sing, and I haven't been singing much actually. Over about a year, I've kind of been, taking, not doing much. And they asked me how much I charged, and I said, well, I said, just a love gift, whatever you want to give me. And I had a charge of what I would charge.
Mhm.
And I didn't say that. I just said, whatever you want, that's fine. I had to do 2 songs. And so I went to the church and I sang at the church. And just this past Saturday, I got my check. I opened it. I was, oh, they sent it in the mail. I opened the check. And the check was for $1,000.
Wow.
I really wasn't expecting like
Mhm.
close to that. So when you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, you seek, not even in coaching, even in doing your work, whatever it is that God has given you, the tools that he's given you to use, when you seek first the kingdom, Lord, I want it to be done. When your heart is in the right place, everything else, the things that you need and even don't even really aren't expecting, God will do the impossible. Those things that we think are impossible, he will do them. So I encourage people, don't focus on what I could get out of it. Focus on doing his work, and everything else will be added.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Where can we get a copy of the book?
You can get a copy of the book. You can you can send me a DM. Or you can go, well, it's not on my website, but you can send me a private message, thrive.wellness555 at gmail.com, and I will send you an autographed copy, or they are both on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon and you can get them, or you can send me a message and I will get one to you.
And how can our listeners connect with you?
My website is thrivewithbrendak.com. It's all about thriving. And I'm on Facebook as Brenda Kelley with an EY. I'm on Instagram. Um, that's about it. Those are the main. And on YouTube, I am on YouTube as Brenda Kelley, and I talk all about health, all about wellness. I have different messages that I give about different things that are going on in our lives. Women, things with gut health. I talk about just so many things that you would like, especially about knowing your lab work, knowing how your body works. It's on there. So YouTube, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe that's another podcast uh, where you can talk more about the nursing side and the wellness side. I
And
would
that
love to have you to come back to do that.
I
Absolutely.
would love to. That is one of the things on my bucket list to do, writing a book about nursing. My 40 years, it'll be 41 years this year. One of the books that I want to write is all about my experiences. I've gone through a lot of different things in nursing, seen God's hand in a lot of different things that have happened. I got a lot of stories about things, life and death, and just powerful. So that is one of the things on my bucket list to do, is to write a book.
Well, I look forward to reading it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Brenda, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know that something you said will touch somebody's life. And we definitely love and appreciate you every single time you show up for us.
Thank you for having me, always.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Be well.